again, and welcome to Reflection Tuesday for August 18th, 2020. In today's Gospel, in Matthew, Jesus says that it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Now, the eye of the needle is a metaphor for how hard it is for some people to enter the kingdom of heaven. And there's stories about a gate in a biblical town somewhere that the gate is so low to the ground that a camel had to crawl through it on its knees. And this is what Jesus is referring to. And here's the context. Here's the backstory. Jesus had just been speaking with a rich young man, telling him to sell all of his stuff and give the money to the poor, and then come and follow him. The young man went away sad because he couldn't give up his possessions. Unfortunately for the young man, his material things wouldn't make it through the eye of the needle, and he certainly didn't want to leave them behind. Now, material things are fine. Being attached to material things is not fine. In this young man's case, the more stuff he had, the less room there was in his heart for God. But it's not just riches or material things that take up that room. It's anything that gets in the way of the kingdom of heaven. It's anything that occupies the space in your heart that rightfully belongs to God. First question, what do you have, or what do you think, or what do you believe, or what do you do that gets in the way of the kingdom of heaven? Besides material things like property and money and alcohol and drugs and pornography, there are also psychological goods that get in the way. Obsessions and anger and hatred, racism, prejudice, revenge, or even self-loathing. Now, self-loathing is when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, or worse. So that's the first question. What do you have that gets in the way of the kingdom of heaven? The second question addresses Peter's concerns in today's gospel, where Peter said, wow, if a rich man can't make it into heaven, what hope is there for us poor guys? And Peter says to Jesus, we've given up everything to follow you. What will there be for us? That's a fair question. What will there be for you? But before you can ask that question, you have to begin where Peter began, from the point of having given something up. Normally, we're used to the idea of giving something up in order to get something better. That makes sense to us. So our second question is, what have you given up for Christ? The gospel talks about giving up houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers and lands and property. What is it that you can point to and say, I gave that up for Christ? Be specific. If you can't identify anything, the good news is you still have time, but not forever. The last question. If a rich person has a hard time getting into the kingdom of God, does that mean us poor folks get a free pass? Go straight to heaven. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. No way. Poverty does not equal sanctity or holiness. Maybe a rich man can't get through the eye of a needle and into the kingdom of God easily because of the riches. But maybe a poor man who could get through the eye of a needle refuses to go. Rich or poor, going to heaven is a lot like going to hell. Either way, you really have to want to go there. You have to choose. You have to make a decision. Those are our three questions for today. First, what do you have that gets in the way of the kingdom of God that you need to give up? Second, what have you already given up for Christ? Be specific. And third, as far as the kingdom of God goes, do you really want to go? What evidence do you have that shows you really want to go? Tough questions for us. But for God, all things are possible. Peace be with you. Stay safe and healthy. See you next week.